As we reach the final quarter of the season, we're expecting to see true tests of skill, and none of those are quite like this with the Gravitrax Relay. Hello everyone, I'm your host Quack, and right now the Ivy League have an 11-point lead over the 4K Pixels, who in turn have an enormous lead over Team Pixie, almost 2 full gold medals. But of course, here is the Gravitrax Relay course. It's brand new to QMC, very different from anything we've seen before. It's a relay, which is even in a format is so different to QMC. Each team will be racing down in a bracket style, trying to get down the track as fast as possible, and we begin with the Event Horizons and Fidus Praxi. Of course, with the name, you might have thought this would be reminiscent of Slalom from the previous 2 seasons, but it is nothing like that. But right now, the Event Horizons are leading the way down up against Fidus Praxi. These two brand new teams, a couple of them having their last few moments getting to demo the runs, and it looks like the Event Horizons will be holding on just narrowly. You can see that fourth leg is where the track opens up, and the two teams can make contact, interfere with each other. We'll see if there's any chaos there in the main event, but the Event Horizons were able to control the pace here pretty well. This track is very long and winding. There's so many places you have to be able to avoid the obstacles in order to navigate successfully. The Event Horizons definitely did that, though. They won by a pretty small margin, though, only 0.15 of a second. The Fidus Praxi caught up a bit in that final leg. But of course, as we get into the final quarter, the championship is so crucial. But because of that, the standings will be deciding the seeding here, meaning the Ivy League are up first against the Avocados, the top and the bottom of the standings. Who will be coming out on top? The Ivy League haven't had a bottom half event since round 1 in balancing, and it looks like right now they have a narrow edge over the Avocados. They've made some roster changes for this event, and so far they're paying off. They still have the lead. Heading into the final handoff now, the Avocados do not have time, and the Ivy League, unsurprisingly, are moving on to the top 8. The Avocados, unfortunately, already dead last, already eliminated this season. We're not even, well, we're only just 75% of the way through this season, and they're already out of championship contention, unfortunately, for the rookie team. But of course, considering their tenure in the B-League, they perhaps didn't quite have their sights set on that. The bottom of the standings is probably not where they'd like to be either. A 10-10 will be a great time for the Ivy League. We'll see how that compares to the rest, but a 10-68 for the Avocados will be the end. Now the Azure Diamonds up against the Loaves of Bread. These two teams at the very center of the standings, but of course the middle of the standings is just so chaotic and so close that right now the Loaves of Bread have a big advantage by being ahead right now. The Azure Diamonds, aren't they catching up? Maybe a little bit through this leg. Now they're definitely starting to catch up a few hexagons at a time. Of course, there's not enough time left, and that means the Loaves of Bread will be moving on to the next round. Of course, we're seeing how some teams are adapting very well. The Loaves of Bread are great at elimination race. Of course, that's their one-member Bun. The rest of the team, though, evidently pretty solid at it as well. But with such a narrow track compared to the elimination race, it's a very different sort of skill set you have to master, being able to accelerate quickly. But the Loaves of Bread have done it. They will be moving on to the next round with a 10:90. That's quite slow, actually, compared to the first heat. We're seeing that the times vary wildly here with how long and arduous this track is. Now the two gray teams, the Stingrays and the Flying Saucers. The Rays trying to get back into the top 4 in the standings, but right now they almost lost the lead there, but it's back and forth between these teams. The Flying Saucers still within striking distance, but the lead is starting to slip, and now the Stingrays have a big lead. It's not going to matter. The rest of this heat will not be important to the results, and the Stingrays will be moving on to the next round. The open section we're seeing is a bit chaotic, but sometimes there's just not enough time left, not enough track left, and the Flying Saucers, our hosts, unfortunately, will be a victim of that. They had a very slow handoff in the final leg there, and that is really what's going to seal their fate. They navigated pretty cleanly through the end of the course, which might save them a bit of time, but an 11:93 is a terrible time for the Flying Saucers, and 11:47, the Stingrays lucky to be seated this way, but they will be making it. Now the King Crabs and the Red Rockets, the two previous QMC champions, up against one another. Right now the Red Rockets trying to get back on the overall podium as they have in the previous seasons, and right now they have a narrow advantage. Both teams looking very quick so far, but the Red Rockets, can they hold it through the final leg? They have a slow handoff, but it's not going to matter. The Red Rockets will be moving on to the next round. The Red Rockets are great at team events, and right now they're 4th in the standings. They're only 4 points adrift of Team Pixie in 3rd place. We haven't seen many new teams finally come up into that podium battle, but the Red Rockets have done it. Meanwhile, the King Crabs, unfortunately, another poor result for them. They're already 13th in the standings. I think this guarantees they're out of championship contention, though, considering the 183 points of the Ivy League. I don't think that's particularly surprising. A 997, though, the first sub-10 time we've seen from the Red Rockets. Now, Team Pixie and the Pollen Puffs. Speaking of Team Pixie, they definitely need to advance now, knowing the Red Rockets have made it, and the Pollen Puffs have a very poor first leg. Team Pixie already has a big advantage, and it seems to be growing. But the Pollen Puffs right now might be closing in a tiny bit, but is that going to matter, really? No, it will not, and the Pollen Puffs are done. They're already out of championship contention. They're already 14th in the standings. They've been bottom 3 in both of the previous 2 QMC seasons, and unfortunately, it looks like that struggling is only going to continue here into the Gravitrax Relay. Team Pixie looking great here so far. They're another team that's usually better at team events, and this is the penultimate team event of the season, so they only have one more shot after this to keep that prowess alive. With a 10:06, that's another great time, and Team Pixie will definitely be making it over the Pollen Puffs, an unfortunate mishap for their season. Now the Chili Peppers up against the Snapping Turtles. The Turtles just got, both of these teams actually, just got medals last event, and we'll see if one of them will be able to get another. Of course, they both can't, but it looks like right now the Snapping Turtles are ahead for now. The Chili Peppers within striking distance. Can they make a move in the final leg? No, they cannot. And the Snapping Turtles with Bowser in the final leg zoom to the end. That will be the end of it. As I mentioned, unfortunately, only one of these teams will be able to get back-to-back medals at most, but it looks like the Snapping Turtles are off to a good start here if they want to. Of course, they're never quite the greatest at team events, generally speaking. They're usually stronger in those individual events like the last one with Marathon, and evidently they're not too exhausted. Of course, that was their reserve who ran last time. They are not in this event with only 4 members, but a 10:03 is a great time for the Snapping Turtles. They might be one to watch heading into the next round. Now the Stone Golems and the City Lights. The City Lights currently 10th in the standings, not up to their usual form, or at least their form from last season, perhaps a bit more like their form from Season 1. But either way, it's very close between these teams right now. The City Lights have a very narrow advantage. It's starting to grow just a little bit. Will the final handoff be kind? And it will, but it's going to be very close at the line. Guardian from the Stone Golems almost closed up at the end, but the City Lights will just barely hold on. This is one of the first heats we've seen where there were really moments for both teams. The Stone Golems right here definitely had the advantage, but that subtle bump was just enough to bring the City Lights back into things. And we're seeing how fine the margins are here. Every single bit of track is so crucial, and the City Lights will be capitalizing. And 11:04 isn't the greatest time past 11, but we're seeing how the heat seeding is really crucial to be able to advance to the next round. As now we move on to the Jelly Jammers up against the 4K Pixels. With the Ivy League moving on, the 4K Pixels have to advance here. They're already 11 points behind, but right now they have a big lead over the Jelly Jammers. The Jammers on the top lane are not catching up nearly fast enough, and the Nexus has a perfect final leg, and that will be the end of it. The Jelly Jammers, unfortunately, another bottom half finish this season. If I'm not mistaken, basically everyone in the bottom 6 in the standings has already gotten eliminated. Not a good sign at all for any of those teams, but the 4K Pixels definitely going to be loving this, knowing they need to keep climbing and need to keep moving to catch up to the Ivy League with their enormous lead. There's only 3 more events after this, and with Ivy League already guaranteeing a top half finish at minimum, the Pixels going to need that 1040 in order to move on. The King Crabs will get best of the rest, which they definitely needed, down in 13th in the standings. The Flying Saucers, though, another bottom 1 spot in this season. They've had so many of those already. We look at round 2 now. The Ivy League and Loaves of Bread will be up first, but of course, all of the main championship contenders still in this one as we begin with round 2. The Loaves of Bread up against the Ivy League. The Loaves of Bread might be a bit of an underdog here considering who's they're up against, but it looks like they might have a slight advantage right now. The Loaves of Bread, it's starting to grow now for them as the Ivy League not having the greatest handoffs, and the Loaves of Bread streak down to the end, and that will be the end of it. The Ivy League will not be getting another medal this event. The Loaves of Bread definitely needed that. They're another team that's currently in that mid-pack battle. They might have a slim chance at a podium if they can really get some great results in these final 4 events, and it looks like they will be doing it here, at least getting top 4, maybe even a medal, but we'll have to see. With the Ivy League getting eliminated, though, that means a lot of eyes will be turning to the 4K Pixels in that final match of round 2 to see if they can make it. One of the largest margins we've seen, 10:07 versus an 11:33, but the Loaves of Bread will be moving on. Now the Red Rockets up against the Stingrays. These two teams, 4th and 5th in the standings. Whoever moves on will probably be taking that spot. Right now the Red Rockets have a very narrow advantage, but it's very close between these teams. The Stingrays have a slightly poor handoff, but the Red Rockets still have the lead for now. But the Stingrays coming through the final leg. The Stingrays will take it, and the Stingrays are moving on to the next round. The Red Rockets are not going to do it. They're already 4th in the standings, but this will definitely hurt them. They're only 4 points above the team that they just lost to. The Stingrays now have a big chance to get back into that fight for the overall podium. And look at how close it came. Their captain Sting just barely able to best thruster from the Red Rockets, and that will do it. A 1060 to a 1065 will be enough for the Stingrays to make it to the semifinals. Now the Snapping Turtles up against Team Pixie. Team Pixie definitely need to advance here considering they're another team right in that podium fight. And right now they have the upper hand. The Snapping Turtles very close though. And now the Snapping Turtles have a great handoff to Yertle. They have the advantage heading into the final leg. They have a bit of a slow leg, but it's not going to matter. The Snapping Turtles will be moving on to the semifinals as well. Team Pixie, this is the second round in a row they came very close, but Team Pixie just messed up through this leg here where the Tortimer from the Snapping Turtles managed to catch up to them, and look, right there is where it happened. The Snapping Turtles will be making it to the next round, and that is not good for Team Pixie. That means the Stingrays have a big chance to capitalize on the failures of Team Pixie and the Red Rockets and try to catch up to them and take third place overall. Of course, we'll have to see. We can't get ahead of ourselves yet. We'll see if they're successful in the semifinals as we move on to the City Lights versus the 4K Pixels. If the Pixels move on here, it has big implications for the championship. But right now, the City Lights have the upper hand. Now they're trying to stretch it here, but the 4K Pixels not making it easy. It's going to come down to the final leg, and the 4K Pixels have a bad handoff. That's going to be the end of it. The City Lights will be moving on to the semifinals, and the 4K Pixels, at best, will be beating by the Ivy League by only about 2 or 3 points. Not good for the 4K Pixels. They're still so far behind. They might be able to close in a little bit. The Ivy League did not have the greatest time in their match, but either way, this is definitely going to have championship implications. Not going to be able to make it to the next round, and that means there's only 3 chances left now to get another medal. The City Lights moving on here is big for them, though. They're 10th in the standings, lower than they'd definitely like to be, and lower than they have been for most of the season. The Red Rockets get best of the rest, and Team Pixie not far behind. That's crucial for their hopes at the podium. Meanwhile, the 4K Pixels will only gain 1 point on the Ivy League. Of course, that means the Loaves of Bread, Stingrays, Snapping Turtles, and City Lights are the final 4 teams. A lot of these teams still fighting to move up in the mid-pack as we begin with the Stingrays and the Loaves of Bread. And we are away. It's the Loaves of Bread with a slight edge through the first leg, but the Stingrays are still within striking distance. The Loaves of Bread, though, trying to grow that lead. It's getting slightly larger bit by bit, and the Stingrays not having a great final leg. It's not going to happen, and the Loaves of Bread move on to the finals. The Stingrays, unfortunately, not going to be able to get a gold or a silver here. They might still have a chance at a podium, though. They've already got 4 of them on the season. They might be able to get a 5th, which is a stat they usually can't boast about. But either way, the Stingrays not looking the greatest here, considering they want to close in on the Red Rockets and Team Pixie. They're not going to be able to capitalize nearly the way they wanted to here, and 11:31 is also not a great time for them. The Loaves of Bread now have a chance for their second gold of the season, but will they be up against the Snapping Turtles or the City Lights? One of these teams will be going to the final, and we are away. It's the City Lights with a narrow advantage. Now the Snapping Turtles have it, though, but it's still close between these 2 teams. Another solid handoff to Yertles. The Snapping Turtles still have the advantage. Heading down to the final leg, it's going to be enough, and the Snapping Turtles are moving on to the final. They've guaranteed 2 medals in a row now. They've already guaranteed 2 top 2 finishes in a row, but we'll see if they're able to do it. The City Lights, unfortunately, another misstep here. They're not going to be able to get their first ever gold. It's amazing that they still haven't gotten one. They are arguably the best team in the league to not have a gold medal yet, but unfortunately, it's not going to come here. The Snapping Turtles doing a great job here with a 10:55 and a 12:31. The City Lights, unfortunate time for them. Luckily, the times in the semifinals don't really matter, as we can see the final bracket. The Loaves of Bread and Snapping Turtles will be facing each other for the gold medal, but before that we begin with the bronze medal match. The Stingrays with the bronze here could definitely move up past the Red Rockets and Team Pixie, but will the City Lights stop them? And we're away. The City Lights have a great first leg, and it's already going to be difficult for the Stingrays. The City Lights just have to hold it here, but the Stingrays are closing back in. It's not going to be easy for them. The City Lights, though, going to have a good final leg. The Stingrays can't make a move, and that's going to be the end of it. The Stingrays put up a valiant effort despite making that mistake early on, but the City Lights will be holding on for yet another medal, and unfortunately yet another non-gold one. Metro, the captain, getting it done in the final leg, just barely. The Stingrays almost caught up, but it's not going to be enough for them, and of course that's definitely a sigh of relief for Team Pixie and the Red Rockets, knowing that the Stingrays will not be getting another medal here, and a fun inversion there, 11:38 versus an 11:83, but now it's time for the final, the Loaves of Bread and the Snapping Turtles, 2 teams with perfect attendance, and the Snapping Turtles still haven't gotten a gold yet this season, but they're going to have a huge lead at the start of this race. The Loaves of Bread, though, we know are great at this event. Can they make a comeback as the Snapping Turtles trying to stretch it, but it's not happening yet. But Bowser has a perfect final leg, and that will be the end of it. The Snapping Turtles will go from silver last event to gold here in the Gravitrax Relay. The Snapping Turtles are known for coming alive in the late parts of the season. They've done it multiple times before, and they will be doing it again here, getting a gold in Event 13. The Loaves of Bread will have to settle for silver, but of course, they've already got a gold medal back in high jump. They won't be able to quite snatch one here, and a 10:24 is a very solid time for the Snapping Turtles to take the gold medal. We'll see what this does to the standings, considering they're already in the top 6. I think the best time of the day was set by the Red Rockets with that 9:97, the only team to get a sub-10. Unfortunately, they couldn't repeat that success in round 2. They will still be able to get 5th place, but we'll see how this changes the standings. And here is the podium. The Snapping Turtles now join the Loaves of Bread in having a gold in all 3 seasons, but what will this do to the standings? The top 6 are unchanged, but 7 new teams are eliminated from championship contention. We still have 3 entire events to go, but only the top 6 will be still in contention. The Snapping Turtles, with that gold, move up definitely into podium contention at this point, and suddenly a battle that looked like it was definitely closed is now wide open for that podium spot. A 10-point lead at the top with the Ivy League over the 4K Pixels, and with 191 points, we see the first ever QMC 200-pointer. We'll have to see as we head into the next event, which will be the classic Collision. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.